Welcome back to Rear Naked Truth Podcast. We are with Chris Camozzi. Chris, I really wanted to spend a minute here to dig into your background because you have one of the most badass records, careers that I've ever had the opportunity to analyze, let alone start to dig into. So if you'll indulge me, I wanted to just give you a proper intro and give you a little history lesson on the last over decade of your professional career, if that's cool.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear because I don't think it's that cool.
Some of the numbers might be off, and I apologize if they are, but I think I brought them all to fruition.
Just make the wins more if you're gonna mess up.
I won't even say the records. How about that? We're going to look at 15 pro MMA bouts before you even got to a major promotion, regional circuits, right?
Sounds right.
Yes.
I don't actually even know my full record right now.
No, we'll get to that. I have it all here for you. We then made it to the UFC, which you had an initial 3-fight run in. That's where you were on TUF for a little bit. But you had a bit of an injury, so you had to sit back on one, right?
Yeah, I broke my jaw on the show. Couldn't continue, so I won the fight to get in the house. Couldn't continue, so then Dana came and sent me packing.
As he does sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a dick move.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, that makes complete sense because I couldn't fight anymore. So
Yeah.
And I actually thank him for it because I wouldn't want to keep living in the house if I couldn't compete.
100%.
I tell everybody now that the second best case scenario was what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because winning the show is number one. I couldn't compete anymore, so they sent me home so I didn't have to live in the house any longer. Do the
Cheers,
reality
by the way.
show. Yeah, cheers.
Thank you for coming
I didn't
on.
have to do the reality show anymore. I went home. They brought me back on the finale, and I wasn't under the Ultimate Fighter contract.
Yeah,
So they actually signed me to a better contract than Court McGee, who won the show.
that's fantastic. Season 11?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you went on another 9-fight run in the UFC after that. I think we might have smashed a little bit of Glory in there. 5 fights in Glory as well.
I don't think yet on that part.
Not on, no, so I said that the dates might not, I'm not Dustin Jacoby, so my dates aren't absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
But you did go on another 9-fight run, which brought you to Dustin's first inaugural fight in the UFC, which I want to dig into in a minute. And after that, I believe you went over to Prize, won a belt over there for a couple of fights.
Yeah, that was a local promotion
Yeah.
here in Denver, which was... I looked out, like it all lined up perfectly because they were paying... It was an oil company here in Denver.
Okay.
So I got paid like UFC money to fight local guys.
Why not?
Yeah, at first, like you leave the UFC and I was like, oh man, like one, that's your dream, everything. So that part sucked. But like the money wise, the, what's it called again? Prize
FC.
PFC or something like that. I've got the belt somewhere at home. I mean, the local ones don't really matter, but
I mean, the money matters.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, so it was a bunch of rich oil guys back when oil guys used to be flooded through Denver, and they used to do private shows. So they offered me like a flat fee that was basically my UFC pay to fight local guys, and I'm like, listen, I'm available every month.
Fuck yeah.
Hit me up.
And I don't think that that's a bad situation because, I mean, you know more than anybody what contracts look like coming out of TUF. Maybe a little different coming out of Contender Series, but UFC, how long do you want to be a 10-10 guy?
Yeah.
Not very long.
Yeah, and I think it was 8-8 when I was in.
No shit.
So it's grown $2,000, in the last
Well, I mean,
15 years or so.
they adjust for inflation apparently in the UFC.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the end of the UFC conversation because you ended up going back for another 7-fight run in the UFC.
Yeah.
You
Can't get rid of me.
They can't get fucking rid of you. And that's not even the end of it too, because then you went to PFL and you had, I believe, 3 fights there.
Yeah, 3 with them.
Yeah.
And then, in between that, I think in between the UFC and PFL is when I went to Glory and did kickboxing.
We met while you were in Glory.
Did we meet then or when I fought Dustin?
I was at Dustin's first fight when you subbed him, and I don't think you guys became tight until a little bit after that, which I want to dig into in a second. But yeah, I don't know if we met that night, but we definitely met a couple of times in the middle of the Glory run that you had too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, I don't know, man. It's been a fun ride. It's so cool. Like the people that you meet along the way. Like when I tell people like Dustin and I fought each other, and then I also consider him like one of my like better friends.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but it's a funny sport, and the average person doesn't get it. They're like, oh, you fought each other, like, I think I broke my hand or my finger. I can't remember, something in there. His nose was broken, shit like that. But then after we're cool, the fans always have like more attachment to it, I think, than the competitors.
Yeah. I feel like that's such an interesting dynamic. And I'm going to spend time asking more questions about that specifically in a bit. But I don't think people realize that it's an individual sport insofar as you guys are in the ring or the cage by yourself, right? However, because it's so individualized, that doesn't negate the fact that it takes a lot of people to get you in there, right? It takes a lot of training partners, right? Beating your ass or you beating their ass to get there. So I feel like Dustin said something to me that was really important once. It resonated, and it was that he wants every guy that he ever fights to never lose another fight. And I didn't understand that at the time, but it's like, it's not necessarily a team sport. So your competitors are almost more important than your teammates in the gym to a degree.
Yeah, I agree with Dustin the way he looks at it, because anybody that beat you, the further they go,
the better you look.
That just like justifies your loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the other side, which I've never understood. I've never been one to like trash my opponents before fighting, because I don't understand when guys like go to press conferences and everything and they will literally bash their opponent. He's terrible. He doesn't belong here with me, everything. If you lose that fight, everything you said also works against you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to be best friends with your opponent, but I've never felt like you should trash them.
Yeah.
Even if you do think you're better. At the same time, you could almost hype your opponent up. He's good here. And, people like the trash talk, but there's a way that you can hype your opponent up that makes your win bigger.
I think it was Cody was actually talking to me. Cody Brunage was saying, legend versus legacy. And I feel like there's a lot to be discussed around what you say and how you conduct yourself that, equates to legacy later on, right? So, yeah, shit talking can promote the hell out of a fight. But after you're done fighting, right, then you're the guy, the human being. You're the man or the woman for that matter. And to have the respect of fans, which is, as you know more than anybody, almost impossible to get these days because of recency bias, what you say is almost as important as what you do in this sport.
Totally. And there's some guys that have like rode that out and changed, like take Chael Sonnen.
Mm-hmm. Bad man.
Yeah, and like he's a good friend of mine. Like
Okay.
I still keep in touch with him today. And when I first started recognizing Chael, I didn't know him. And I was like, man, I can't fucking stand this guy. Everything he says.
While he was still active?
Yeah, when he was active.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I met him when Dustin and I fought.
Okay.
And then he was fighting Anderson, or I forget. So
that was in his prime, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to go do camps with him. But like I met him in the sauna cutting weight for my fight with Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because back then I was buying into the pro wrestling thing. I was so new to the sport. Everything people said on TV, I thought that was them.
Yeah.
And then meeting him in person, and I was like, he's one of the like nicest guys ever.
Smart as hell too, right?
Yeah. And then he started bringing me to Oregon. Like he hit me up and was like, hey, do you want to be a training partner? I could use some left-handed sparring partners because I'm southpaw.
Yeah.
And going there, I was like, this is one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. Like his mom went to training every day. He remembers everybody's name. This dude has a insane memory. Like the first time I went, I would tell him about my life, and he remembered those people's names and this and that, like my family members' names. So then
that people might just miss or not listen to.
So he started asking me questions like, "Hey, how's Brian doing?" And I'd be like, "Brian who?" He's like, "Your brother. You told me about him." I'm like, "You remember his name?" Like,
wow,
it's crazy. And one of the most polite people, like insanely respectable, like didn't swear, didn't party, didn't drink, didn't anything.
Yeah.
And he started telling me, he's like, oh, it's all a gimmick.
He's the first heel, right?
Yeah. And I got to see it firsthand because like we would go train and I lived with him. Then we'd go back to his house and he would watch videos and stuff on like promo videos. That's where he would get like a lot of the
So
promo.
he worked it. He exercised that
100%.
I mean, that's brilliant though, because it's not something for a lot of people that comes entirely naturally, right? Like, I mean, Colby's a Chael product, right? And it came for him, but maybe he was trying to practice it, learn it from a mentor like Chael, I think, is to him.
Yeah, so I've never met Colby. Like, I don't know him at all, but I've actually heard he's the exact same way.
Super
It's
nice
like
in
it's
person.
the heel thing of the pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, and Chael told me back then, he's like, the UFC was on the verge of cutting me, and if you go back, you can see like he used to just be like the average fighter.
Yeah.
Didn't get a lot of attention, and he was like, there was a point they were gonna cut me, and I made a decision like, do I want to have a lot of friends or make a lot of money? And so Chael has a psychology degree.
I know.
Yeah. He's a very intelligent guy. And so he was like, I made the choice to make a lot of money. And he told me flat out, and he was like, let's just say I don't get invited to a lot of weddings anymore. But every time I see him
He'd
now.
give a hell of a best man speech, though.
Yeah. Like every time I see him now, he asks me about like Whitney, my life, everything. Like he knows like details.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, I have a couple of questions that are going to tap into that, and I do want to dig into that. But I didn't want to not give a nod to the 4-2 record that we've got in the BKFC right now either. I mean,
4-2 sounds fucking terrible.
It sounds great if you're a Chicago Bears fan, which I am. So anything above
that might be worse than 4-2. Being a Bears fan.
You know what? Up until this season, it was, but we wear that badge of loser proudly. I mean, essentially, dude, you look at your career, all these promotions, all of this experience, you're like a golden corral of fight promotions. You've just gone up to the buffet line, taken this, taken that, taken this, and you've tasted everything across the board.
I'm the Carhartt guy of the fight game.
I like
the,
that.
the working man.
Carhartt guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the working man, just like hard. I don't have a shtick. I don't have a, just show up and fight.
I feel like that's why you and Dustin get along so well. He's the exact same way.
I agree. When him and I first met, what happened was him and I shared a locker room or whatever. When you go to the UFC, even fight week, there's red corner, blue corner. They have workout rooms set up. First time we met, we weren't fighting each other. It was the following fight.
Okay.
But he was in our room, so I'd see him at every workout, and you get to talking. We're the same size, everything. And it's a small world, so I knew some of his coaches or knew of them, and we're talking. He's like, I'm from Colorado, which is, we're here right now.
Yeah.
I'm in Denver, and he's like, I'm from Fort Morgan originally. So we're talking all about Colorado and everything. I'm rooting for him during his fight. He's rooting for me. I think we both lost whatever card that was. And then the very next fight, we're like fighting each other.
Yeah.
But during the first fight where we weren't fighting each other, we're like, oh yeah, we should train together. We got along really good. Like, and even now, that's why we're friends. It's like, a lot of the same kind of personalities and shit.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, similar upbringings. So I know that you obviously had your last fight in Italy. Your last name's Camozzi. Did you grow up in an Italian household?
Yeah. I mean, I would say not like hardcore Italian.
Okay.
But yeah, my grandpa was an immigrant, got his citizenship during World War II. And a ton of my family immigrated here.
Is just your dad, or is your mom Italian too?
No, my mom's Irish.
Irish?
Yeah.
But I only bring that up because I grew up in an Italian household as well. And I feel like really growing up in that household breeds fighters because of the fucking arguing and the bickering and the fighting that goes along. Did you experience that too, or no?
I mean, like, so going to my grandparents' house, like my dad's side, I feel like the Italians can either breed fighters or babies, because you will get this. Every man that comes from an Italian household is definitely babied by their mother.
1000%. My lady is nodding off camera.
Yeah, we might need to give you a mic, because like it depends. Yeah, it depends on how hardcore of a household you come from. But I mean, like,
my mom was first generation as well. She was her mom was born in Italy.
Yeah. Do you remember John Vellante?
Of course, I met him.
Yeah,
I went out with him.
So yeah, one of my really good friends too, and he always used to tell me like, "Oh, you're fake Italian," because I would give him shit.
He's Long Island Italian though. Yeah,
I would live with him during camps too with Weidman, and I couldn't get over that. Like, his mom would do his laundry, check his mail.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, the mailbox, he lived in a high rise.
Okay.
So the mailbox was in the lobby, but he didn't have the key. His mom did everything.
Yeah.
At one point, he let me stay at his place while he was in Europe. And he came back home while I was still there, but he was like, free reign, everything.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he thought I bought pots and pans for his house because I had like meal prepped a bunch of food. I was in camp. And I remember him coming in and be like, "Oh, did you buy me pots and pans, this and that? Like, where'd all this food come from?" And I'm like, "I made it." And he's like, "You bought this?" I'm like, "No, it was underneath your
Didn't
cabinets."
even know.
And he was like, "I swear to God, I've never cooked anything in my life."
Yeah.
He didn't know how to turn on the stove. And I was like, "How do you eat?" And he's like, "My mom drops off food, 2 to 3 times a week." And his mom would come over and clean the house. I would be sleeping on his couch because it was a 1 bedroom and he had the living room. So I'd sleep on the couch. And I'd wake up to his mom like vacuuming the house and
That
stuff.
sounds right.
Like regular stop through.
Yeah.
So he was always like, "Oh, you're fake Italian, not real Italian."
I'm cut from the Vellante cloth because you go to my mom's house, you get your shoes cleaned without asking for it. You get the meals put into the to-go bags on the way out, whether or not you wanted any more of it. And I mean, I don't like to admit this, but my other half would say that I'm from the baby side of the fighter baby Italian upbringing.
We got to get you a mic over here because
Yeah.
this would
Mike,
be good therapy for you. You could just vent it out.
we'll do after hours with Kelly.
Because Dustin and I, Vellante was one of the coaches when we were Stipe's assistant coaches.
I remember, yeah.
And he all of his laundry was gone through, and he didn't know what to do with it. And
Dude ran out of laundry and he didn't know to wash it.
He never worked a washer dryer.
Wasn't he like in his 30s then when you guys filmed that?
Yeah, he was like 36.
Oh my god, dude!
I used to have a video on my old phone of me showing him how to do laundry, and I was like, I gotta videotape this.
Oh man!
And it was step by step. I'm like, you take your clothes, you put them in here. I'm like, some people sort them. I don't. I'm not. Whatever. You throw your shit in here. I had to show him where to put the pods, how to turn the thing on. And at the end of the video, he's like holding up his hands because he was like squishing the pod. And I'm like, I made a joke like, you don't eat it.
You don't eat them.
He had never done laundry. Even when I stayed with him, he used to say like, put all your sweaty ass gym clothes in a grocery bag or a garbage bag. He's like, my mom will come get him and wash him.
Oh my goodness,
and
man.
I was like, John,
he might even be more baby than I was.
Definitely.
Jesus.
I was like, your mom is not washing my like sweaty, soaking. We're in Long Island, New York. Like it looked like I jumped in a pool. And he was like, no, she loves it.
That's the most Italian kid thing you could ever say. No, they like doing it. My brother says that shit all the time.
Yeah, I told him flat out, I was like, your mom is absolutely not washing my shit. Yeah, and he had money and like owned his place and everything.
Yeah.
And there was a laundry room in his building. He didn't know that. And he was like, well, you know how to do that? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I've been doing my laundry since I was like fucking 9. Of course I know how to do it. He had no idea.
He after Dust knocked out I forget his name, the Korean in Long Island, we were at that fight. John actually ended up taking us out, and we went deep into it's not called midget wrestling. The politically correct term is little person wrestling.
Yeah.
So we went out to this bar. I don't even know if you've been to that one out there, but
I have.
Okay, I have.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
We go in there, and he didn't tell us what we were doing. He's like, he comes up to the bar, and there's a bouncer outside because it's like an event, and he didn't even have to, say anything. They let us pass the line because John was there. And we might even have went in the fucking back door, to be honest with you. It was like a scene out of Swingers or Goodfellas or something like that. And we go in, and we have the most ridiculous time. Coach Mark Montoya was there, and there's this hilarious picture. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's of one of the wrestlers recognized Dustin and wanted to take a picture with him outside in front of the bar. And in the picture, we didn't know until like an hour later on the ride home, which there were 13 of us packed into an Uber. It was ridiculous. The little person was holding onto Dustin's thumb.
Just his thumb.
He's just like sitting
with his
there,
whole hand,
like with his whole hand holding Dustin's thumb, like so like little brother to him. It was a ridiculous time. But John is a good guy, man. He showed me a good time in Long Island. So
he's a great time all the time, man. Everybody knows that guy.
He had a pretty good fight career too.
But he did have a good career. Like he was in Strikeforce, UFC. I don't mean to make this big of fun of him because he's one of my good friends, but like he's just
give him a little shit. Come on, we're having a good time.
He's the funniest character I've ever seen. I could do an entire podcast of stories living with that guy because I was like, this isn't real fucking life. I'm talking stop in the middle of the street in Long Island, get out with like traffic behind. And leave his car in the middle of the street so we could get food at a Chinese restaurant because he was dieting. So
you're fucking kidding me.
So he would get like Szechuan beef and white rice because that was part of the diet. And he's like,
That checks out.
Beef and rice.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
Vellante was never known for his physique, by the way.
People losing their mind behind because it would be a 1-lane road in his town, and he would just get out, put his Jeep in park, and be like, let's go in. We would order it, and there's an entire line of cars like parking, going around, being like, fuck you. And he was like, I make my own rules. I've never met anybody that just marched their own drum as much as that guy. And he's one of my favorite people because I was like, I respect it. I mean, I can't do that, but I respect it.
Oh my God. This pod took such an interesting turn at the beginning because I was going to have all these deep questions, and then you start telling me Vellante stories, and these are so much more interesting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even Dustin will tell you, like, Stipe almost kicked him off the show when we were coaching.
Because he was just fucking off too much?
Well, because he wouldn't do anything. He was just there to be on the show, and he would be sleeping in the corner during practice. And at one point, the cameras are zooming in on him and everything. And Stipe was like, John, get the fuck up or get the fuck out of here, you know? It was like a heated moment for a minute.
That was Stipe DC too, right?
Yeah. Vellante, like, wakes up against the wall. Literally, the camera crew's standing over him, and he's just sleeping. And he's like, I'm fucking working over here. Get off my back. Just like a normal, he's like, what do you want from me? I'm over here working.
Working hard.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Did you like that experience coaching? I've heard interesting anecdotes about that Stipe DC2 TUF season. What was your takeaway from that?
No, I mean it was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Our team ended up doing well. It was cool to see because I was a contestant on the show and then being a coach on the show.
Yeah, a little behind the scenes shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, looking back, like, part of it is like how tight can the coaches keep it, because the contestants are filmed constantly.
Yeah,
the coaches, you're in and out of filming.
And this was at like closer to season like almost 20, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, it was like 20, 25.
Yeah,
it was the undefeated.
A while
season.
After yours, the show changed after you were on it. I feel like.
Yeah. But even then, like, I've known other coaches and stuff, and they're like, oh, we were partying all night, come back, and like.
Was that your experience when you were a contestant too? Was the house still a crazy situation when you were on it?
The house?
Well, like, if you remember in like the first 5, I feel as though the drama of the fighters living together was more intense than some of the fights, unfortunately. Was it like that when you were a contestant on it?
Yeah, I mean, I was there for a short time because
the jaw.
So, yeah, getting into the house, I broke my jaw. I won the fight, so I got on the show. That was when you had to win to get into the house. And so I was there for like a week or week and a half before they found out my jaw was broken. But even that week and a half it felt like 6 fucking weeks.
There's so much testosterone running through those houses, man.
Yeah, and at first it starts cool because you're like, cool. It's like a bunch of people, like, or a bunch of fighters that are like on the same mission as you, you know, guys that you seem to get along with, yada, yada. But then there's no magazines, there's no TV, there's no books, there's no music, they don't script the show, which people always ask me, like, oh, is it scripted? It's not scripted, but you do psychological tests and all this stuff. And I don't know this for sure, but I'm convinced that they pick a certain amount of real fighters and then a certain amount for TV. And they know that it will be a train wreck at some point.
Well, like producers would do on any reality show these days, right? Like, they're not going to... I tried, quick side, Kelly and my son tried to get me onto like Squid Games challenge or something like that.
Yeah.
And when I went and tried to tell my story, it sounded like the most white guy vanilla shit that you could ever fucking imagine. It was the most lame story ever. So I didn't obviously get called to go on that. So what I'm saying is producers want to see natural drama unfold, and a psych test probably informs them of what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm convinced that they pick a certain amount that are... Because there were some legitimate fighters that I knew from the scene. I'm like, oh, that guy's good. That guy's good. And then there's some other guys that you're like, I've never heard of that guy. He's had one fight or whatever. And of course, they're the biggest like shit stirs. It's a personality clash, and then you don't get any kind of entertainment. You don't have contact with the outside world or anything, but you have unlimited alcohol and all the other things.
In the house?
Oh, yeah.
Alcohol?
When I was on the show, it was sponsored by Miller Lite, but there was an entire bar. If anything was drank the next day, it was full again. Like,
Wow. It sounds like a fraternity house, really.
Yeah, but you can't talk to anybody outside. There's no girls. There's nothing else. So like little things start to add up. You know, it's kind of like prison and shit. Like,
well, they were trying to weed out naturally who was serious about this and who wasn't, maybe.
Yeah, and when I was on, when you were out of the competition, you still stayed in the house.
Interesting.
The early seasons, they would send them to, they call it like the loser house. So you would leave the show, you would be off camera, but you had to stay there. You didn't get to go home.
Yeah, because I spent most of my life in the loser house. Just FYI.
Same.
Yeah.
Because I've had a few buddies on the earlier seasons, and they're like, no, like you didn't get to go back home. You just chilled in this house, but you weren't on camera anymore.
Yeah.
And they were like, we just played video games and shit all day and like fucked off. Then they started leaving the guys that lost in there, because those guys, the ones that would lose, would start drinking a bunch and didn't care. And they're like, oh, I'm out.
Now guys want to like they know that you can lose on the Contender Series or TUF and you can still make it into the UFC. I mean, if you either going back to a regional circuit or maybe you gave a show.
Yeah.
In the fight, even if you lost.
Yeah, because even when we coached, whatever season that was, undefeated, I think 25, 26. Mm-hmm. There's so many now, but I would tell those guys, like, if they lose the fight, I'm like, just keep training, like, stay ready, because people get hurt all the time, right? And so that's the pool that they draw off. If somebody can't fight, they pick somebody else. And if you're in there just raging, not training anything, like a lot of guys lose focus. And it's tough to keep focus in that scenario.
When you're not connected to the outside world too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have kids, wives, everything. So then that weighs in, because you don't get to talk to them. There's an emergency line. If something happens to your kid or whatnot, they can call the producers and they'll get you. But outside of that, you don't get to talk to anybody.
I like this BTS stuff behind TUF. But going along that same time frame, maybe a little bit earlier, 06, when you kind of had your first pro fight, I believe?
Probably 05, 06, yeah.
Look, we've kind of detailed from a broad strokes perspective what you've gone through, what you've experienced, the amount of promotions you've fought for. If you, could you say to the Chris back then, this would happen? And do you think he would have known, is my mind ready for this? Is my body ready for this? Could you have convinced yourself then how much you would have accomplished and experienced now?
That might be one of the best questions I've ever been asked on a podcast. Fantastic. Actually, I appreciate that.
Of course.
And I'm not even just hyping you up.
You can hype me up too.
I would say yes and no, kind of, because at the time I started training, so rewind it to growing up. I used to get in fights all the time.
That was obviously going to be a question of mine.
School, everything. I was always getting into trouble.
You were a fighter.
Yeah. I always felt like it was for a good reason, I never beat up anybody or got in fights with people that
said every murderer ever. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. They usually deserved it. I mean,
I'm kidding.
There was a point I think I was a senior in high school, something like that. At one point, all the groups of people, because at first I had no friends, I switched middle school. I switched counties. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know anybody going to high school. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way I was brought up. You be nice and polite to people. Unless they fuck with you, then fuck them.
Sure.
So I had a giant mix of friends, and I still keep in touch with a decent amount of them. And at least my perspective, I was always pretty nice to everybody. And there was a point, a fast forward, my senior year or something, there was a kid. I mean, I couldn't tell you his name, but I had gained a reputation for fighting a lot of people. And at one point, this kid's mom called me. But I remember sitting there and I think I was smoking weed or something stupid. But I answered the phone and it was a kid's mom. Offered me $1,000 to beat up some.
You're fucking lying.
Some guy that was bullying her kid. And I didn't know the kid either. But I was like,
you're not bullshitting me.
No, I mean, I'm dead serious. I can still remember getting this call because I was just as shocked. I'm like, how the fuck did you get my number?
Oh my God.
And to beat this kid up that was bullying her kid. And bullying is getting worse and worse.
I fucking hate that, dude. I don't accept that ever.
So I always used to, even back then, I would consider myself the bully's bully, right? So I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And when I was younger, I would get in fights with like the varsity football players and stuff. Like
for mouthing off to your sister.
No, just for them being dickheads or what I thought was being a dickhead. But she was like, "You're ruining fucking school for me."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she would get upset because like everybody wanted to like come at me. And I mean, I did pretty well. But anyways, I got this call from a mom and she wanted me to like beat up some bully of her son. And at the time, $1,000 when you're in school is
bro, right now.
Yeah. I mean, I would do it for $1,000 right now too.
I would do it right now.
But I remember, I think I was like smoking weed or something. But I was just like, "Fuck it, I'll do it for free. Like, send me the guy's name." It never ended up happening. But like that, getting that call, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Like what chain of command had to happen for not just like the kid?
I didn't know the kid either.
Yeah, but he's just like he comes home with a bloody nose for the 8th time that month, and he's like, "Ma, I don't know what to do," and well, what can we do? Have Chris Camozzi beat him up.
Yeah, and I was with like
bullies bully for hire.
Yeah, and I mean this will sound outlandish, but like, and I was with like a group of my friends, and we would always like, yeah, I was probably like a junior because we weren't even like the oldest people in school or anything, but would always get in fights with all these other guys, and I was on the wrestling team, so that like helped, like wrestlers would be like, "Fuck those football players," you get those rivalries. There was a
hatred.
Yeah, and it was a really funny call, dude. I can literally still remember that because I thought it was so weird. I'm like, well, shit, if a mom's telling me to do it, maybe I'll do it. Like I said, it never happened.
I thought that whole conversation was going to go somewhere else because, I mean, I have more high school stories along the lines of like a mom was calling the kid not to beat up some other kid, but to like clap those cheeks.
Oh.
Different high schools we went to.
Wait, I think we got to turn the interview around.
Well, we can dig
I would like to hear that story.
That is a good story. It's a more after hours thing. But I mean, I wanted to say, do you think then, well, no, I want to hear we kind of sidetracked into a great story, but back to that question, because I'm really curious about it. Body or mind harder to believe in the 2006 Chris Camozzi mind that you'd be able to go through all that? Do you think you could survive it? Or what do you think would have been harder when you were just getting into fighting to have dealt with at that point?
Yeah, I forgot to finish the point on that question, but yeah, you're right. Like
your side stories are epic, so I'm in love with them. Keep them going. But
so going to that, when I started training, just like every other person, and this would be advice to anybody wanting to train today, I walked in the gym cocky as fuck. It was like, I'm the fucking man, do this. I've gotten in a million street fights, which is everybody's fucking story.
Sure.
And then you get your ass beat.
Right away.
And it is, yeah, because people are training to do it. But so, like, I'm not immune to that. I thought I was, like, the shit walking into an MMA gym. It was guys I used to wrestle with, hit me up and were like, "You got to check this gym out, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, fuck yeah, I want to be a cage fighter. Kind of like, but I didn't know that like local competitions existed. I went to this gym, and of course, you have this giant chip on your shoulder. You've been fighting a bunch of fucking drunk people. Then you find out what real fighting is like, because all these guys have been like actually trained to do it. So I got my ass whooped. And I actually think, maybe you ask Dustin or other fighters this, I think the one difference that makes or breaks people is like, do you keep coming back? Because I got the shit kicked out of me for, I don't know, 6 months or more before I started like being able to hang. So it's a giant ego check, and I've seen it over the years a ton. The worst thing you could do is walk into a fight gym and talk about how many like street fights, bar fights, whatever.
Does that shit still happen though? Like, I thought maybe that'd be like a dying breed because the exposure of trained mixed martial artists in today's world, right? Like 06, 07, I mean, that was when the UFC almost lost everything.
Yeah.
After that, though, has been this just incline of popularity and exposure to it. No, I wouldn't have thought people still do that shit.
No, they still do.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not there on like the front lines of like new members and stuff, but I mean, I still come across guys at the gym that are like, "Oh,
well, you're still plugged into the community, obviously." Yeah.
Or I just got out of prison, or like people always want to like hype their story up, kind of like what I'm doing now.
No, you're telling it. You're not hyping.
But then like you watch them like my gym, we have a few guys that recently came to the gym and had this prison story. I've been locked up forever and everything. That's all I do is fight and everything. And then you watch them go in like the basic kickboxing class and they're just getting wailed on by fucking Margaret, who's a teacher or whoever, you know. Everybody thinks they're the baddest motherfucker until you meet somebody better. And then when you meet somebody better, what do? Do you humble yourself and work to get better, or do you just leave?
Given what you said, right, like who you were in high school, not obviously a bully, but a bully's bully, right? Trying to fight for the right reasons and be, you know, if you're going to get into something, make sure you're not just picking on somebody, right? Do you think that the evolution of you as a fighter changed who you ended up becoming as a man because of that? Like, do you think you would have gone down a different path maybe had you not learned what it meant to be a true fighter and respect the sport versus just be a street fighter and be able to kick ass?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think I've said a bunch. I think like MMA and stuff like saved my life, actually, which would be surprising. If you say that in a courtroom, like as soon as I started professionally fighting, my life was saved. But yeah, no, that's true. Like I was being a kind of like degenerate loser and just like fucking off, committing small crimes, you know, doing shit. But like I was not on like a good path to like doing anything cool.
You wouldn't have got where you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to a gym, getting beat up, but then it like made me like hooked on it. And then meeting guys that were serious about it, you know, like no more drinking, no more this, that. Like that's what it takes to be like a real fighter, athlete, whatever. Because I didn't play college football or do any of that. Like
some guys are athletes, some guys are fighters, and Dustin and I talked at length about that.
Yeah, and some are both. But like the dedication and everything, like here's what it takes to be great or whatnot. And I was fortunate enough that the first MMA gym I went to was run by a legit guy. I didn't do any research. I just went. There was like some guys from my wrestling team that started going to the gym closest to our high school. And I, to this day, I will say I was super fortunate that it was a legit one. So the guy's name was Brad Gumm.
Okay.
Like Gumm. He was in the early UFCs. He was a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
That name sounds pretty familiar to me.
Yeah, his debut was against like Shoni Carter. That's how long ago it was. I think it was UFC like 25 or 27. Yeah. But like he knew what he was doing and he like actually cared and he was like a good role model. So it wasn't on my homework or anything. Just thankfully, because I think back now, I'm like, if I walked into a gym with some, you know, guy who didn't know what he was doing or wasn't guiding you right, I would have kept going that way. But I got like really serious about it and then I became addicted to it. So I stopped hanging out with like a lot of the people I used to hang out with and I just was like eat, sleep, train, work, that's it.
I hear a lot of parallels to Dustin Poirier's story. I don't know if you ever saw his documentary Fightville.
A long time ago.
Yeah, it was really crazy. And he's talked about his story pretty openly about very similar to yours. You know, nothing too nuts, but he was on a path that wasn't going to end anywhere close to where he ended up. And I don't mean to be all, you know, mo or mush about it, but when I'm reading in between the lines, it kind of feels to me like in some capacity, the need to be inspired a little bit, right? Like, because you had a drive, you had a fire, but being inspired by a guy like Gumm or whomever else was in the gym at the time who was really showing you the ropes, that kind of directed the energy to a more positive, you know, light, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because, like, I don't know about now, but I always thought, like, so I didn't do very well in high school. I didn't really get into any colleges I wanted to go to. I went to one for a semester. But I feel like back then it was like, go to college, get a good job. Otherwise, you're a fucking loser.
Well, it's still that way.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, well, no, it's not. But I'm just trying to make.
I know
a
you're
joke.
saying, you're saying the joke. I'm saying people listen, fuck that. I kind of think fuck college unless you want to be an engineer, lawyer,
kind of
whatever, like something that requires a degree.
Yeah.
But so I kind of like accepted in my head. I was like, I'm on the path to being like a loser. You know. I went to college for one semester, wasn't for me, left, started partying and just working shitty jobs that I hated.
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to be my life. That like, just accept that. That's what it is, you know? Cause my dad wasn't in my life. My mom worked 2 jobs, you know, days and nights, barely slept. And I was just like, yeah, you know, this is what we're built for. This is our family. And there was no, I mean, there was never an outline or a blueprint for how it worked, but MMA kind of changed my literal entire life. Like I got to start making money. And then from that, I started like branching off into other businesses. But then when you surround yourself with motivated people, it doesn't matter if you have a degree or anything. You meet, I mean, I've been fortunate enough through my career. I've been in the room with billionaires, like with a B, millionaires, you know. The more people that you meet, if you're a sponge, just like you are in the gym, hear what they have to say. Like, you don't have to have a fucking degree to be great anymore. And I think times have changed. But for me, I thought that point of like leaving college, I was like, I'll just accept it. Like, I'm going to do shit I hate, you know, 9 to 5, make a check, spend the check, you know, never do anything. And I am, that's why I love the sport so much. I'm like fucking super grateful because I should never be where I'm at now. And I'm doing well, you know, I make my own schedule, do my own thing. And I've learned like financial literacy. I didn't know any of that. But it all started from that day of like just going back to the gym. Swear to God, like not even bullshit.
I completely agree with you. There's a reason why I asked you to let me, you know, interview you to have this conversation. Dude, I've been unemployed a gang of times, and I've had a pretty successful career on and off. I see it. It's kind of coming off as a joke, but to be honest, I'd prefer it to be a little bit more serious. Like, one of the big motivators for doing this pod is just because I don't think I've ever met more motivated people than fighters. You guys do so much in the beginning for so little. It can be big in the case of you, in the case of some of our mutual friends, in the case of a million people that I could name. But surrounding myself by people like you guys and getting to pick your brain for an hour and a half about the journey is changed a lot within me. So to hear you say that, I think is one of the most raw, truthful things I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you. And I can even relate that to what I'm doing now, right? So I'm a commercial real estate broker. Everybody hears real estate, they think I sell houses.
I think I made a joke when we were texting.
Yeah, you're like, if I move to Denver, I'll hit you up. I'm like, I think I said, all right, cool. I don't sell houses. I don't even know how to buy or sell a house because they're so different.
Yeah.
But like, I do commercial buildings, and like, it's a lot like fighting.
Yeah.
So you met Brandon, who I work for. He owns the brokers that I work for. And it's a long story of how we met, but I basically met him along the way through like mutual friends and doing shit. And I was like, hey, I'm interested in what you do. Like, how hard is it to get into? And he's like, well, it's not that hard. And it's not. You get your real estate license, and it's funny because you get the same license that residential people. There's no path for commercial real estate. Yeah, so you get the same license as people that sell houses. And again, I said that I don't even know how to buy or sell a house. But he told me, he was like, you get your license, I'll teach you everything. And I was like, deal. So I did that, you know, which is like, I think athletes are go-getters, because he didn't really hear from me for a bit. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I'm signed up. I'm halfway through the course, everything. And he's like, perfect. And once I got near the end, he was like, once you get your license, forget everything you learned. He was like, none of that will apply, because the entire test, everything is all based on houses. So I get my license, start training with him. And he was like, you know, how are you doing financially? Here's the deal. Like, you probably won't make money like the first year. So I don't know what to tell you, but figure something out. I'm still fighting. I have endorsements, everything. And I was like, no, I'm good. I got time. I can do everything on my own time. Learning. But some of the barrier to entry is like meeting people, calling people, doing all this.
Say most of it.
Yeah. And I used to be like a little bit intimidated by that, oddly enough.
And you fight for a living.
Yeah. And so one day I was thinking about it, and I was like, how hard is it to like cold call somebody? Like, I've gotten my ass beat in front of millions of people on TV. somebody hanging up on me or being rude to me won't be the worst thing that happened.
Yeah.
As soon as I started relaying it to that, and like a lot of clients and stuff like the fight story, you know, it's just kind of interesting what you do. But I think if going forward, if I own any more companies or anything, ex-athletes would be one of my main hires because they're driven. Fighters especially aren't used to making a check until after the job's done. And I think fighters are probably some of the hardest workers because you work when you don't get paid to go to the gym. NFL players.
You pay to go to the gym to a degree.
I mean, I still pay to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Some athletes get really bougie and stuff. Fighters literally, there's a few.
It's blue collar sports, blue collar athletics.
To this day, I would say there's a few guys in the UFC that have made lifelong money that never have to work, but not many. I bet
two handfuls.
I was gonna say I bet two hands.
Yeah.
And so those guys are used to like working when nobody pays attention because you train through camp, you do all these things. Even when you don't have a fight, you're training for 9 months or whatever, just trying to get better. And you don't get paid for any of those. You get paid for the one night, the payoff. So I think that there's some of the like hardest workers.
I agree with you. And I think there's a very obvious couple of parallels between what you were talking about when you walked, back into that same gym, the first gym with Gum, or talking to Brandon about wanting to get into commercial real estate, right? Like there's this need to be inspired and then this desire to exceed or rather excel at that field. So I'm buying what you're saying 1,000%.
Yeah. And I mean, you can have fun with it. If people are
For
rude
sure.
to you, there's things you could sign them up for that they get gifts every month or whatever.
Do you think that everything that you've gone through over the last we're talking almost 20 years now in the sport, do you think that that's impacted those people around you positively or negatively? Family, friends?
I mean, I hope so. I think it would be like arrogant for me to be like, oh yeah, I changed these people or not. But all the people that I've met through the fight community are basically like my friends now. So it's kind of funny. Like my friend group are some of the baddest motherfuckers ever.
It's a weird thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird thing to hear.
But like some of the most humble, like genuine people too.
That's what I dig into because I've never met more humble people than fighters ever.
Yeah. I mean, I have clients that tell me that now, like, oh, I'd never guessed you were a fighter. Like you seem so nice and everything. And I'm like, well, it's easy to be nice and like humble when you get fucking beat up every day. You're not hitting home runs and everybody's like, you're the superstar. And like, I want my own locker room. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like you start getting like big headed. Fighters, like it doesn't matter if you're the current UFC world champion, somebody in the gym beats you up.
Has to, right?
They have to.
Yeah.
Or at least gives you hell.
You're losing rounds somewhere.
Otherwise, you're not training with the right people. But there's guys that you've never heard of, you never will hear of, that it's a weird sport because there's like hobbyists. Like when I used to go to Long Island and train with Weidman, there were guys that would fuck me up. That were like Wall Street brokers.
Really?
But they were black belts for like 15 years. And like him and I would leave jiu-jitsu and he'd be like, how'd you do? Because like I would do some rounds with him, with other people. I'm like, I got fucking destroyed by that like 60-year-old guy over there. And it was literally, and I was in the UFC at the time. And he was like, oh yeah, that guy's been a black belt for like 19 years or whatever, that came up under Henzo. But you would never know. He showed up in a suit and is like a Wall Street guy. It's a crazy sport because NFL guys don't have that. They're not like, oh, random Joe over here hit me so fucking hard, even though I'm, Von Miller or whatever.
The JV to varsity I'm obviously making a metaphor, but
yeah,
college, or high school to college, and college to NFL, right? If to stick with the football metaphor, the discrepancy is so vast.
Yeah,
you're not going to get a guy. This isn't the fucking Mark Wahlberg Philly Eagles movie where you get a guy off the street who can come and compete to any level like you're talking about, except in a sport like fighting.
Yeah, you don't get to be like, I played Pee Wee football, I still feel good, and like the Broncos will let you come be on the practice squad.
I break my neck.
But but in MMA and stuff like that, like you get the people that pay to go there that are hobbyists training with world champions and pros, and Dustin will tell you, every fighter you ever have on this podcast will tell you there's somebody in the gym that beats everybody's ass that you've never heard of and will never, like, I don't know. There's guys I've met in the oil industry that were like killers. Like I've seen them beat world champions regularly.
Dude,
and they just like being the training partner.
That doesn't surprise me. Do you watch the show Landman at all?
Yeah.
That's the most cutthroat industry in the world, I feel like. So to hear a guy who was, an oil tycoon or an oil landman for that matter, like to beat ass, checks out.
Yeah.
They're so ruthless.
And I said the oil industry because we used to have a bunch of them. When oil was big in Denver before the companies moved out, we'd get the roughnecks and stuff that would be here for a month, then gone. You wouldn't see them for a while, but they would come in and they were like
savages,
the roughest dudes ever. And you're
really?
Like, oh, fuck, this guy's going to try to like rip my head off.
So which gym are you training at the moment currently?
I'm at Genesis Training Academy over in Arvada. Yeah.
Is it a bit more of a boxing focus for you considering you're in bare knuckle at the moment?
It has been, yeah.
Yeah.
But they've got, it's a great gym. So they have MMA, Muay Thai, boxing.
Yeah.
So there's like a whole pro boxing team there. So once I switched to BKFC, I would go and like train with the pro boxers, which is also really fucking humbling because
I can imagine.
You leave the UFC or whatever and you think you're like, I've been fighting forever. And I meet some like Mexican boxers that are 20 years old that have 200 fights and then they beat your ass.
But I mean, that brings up a good thought. What's the difference in preparation fighting and approaching like the UFC versus BKFC? Like, what's the mental change? What's the physical demands that are required from, I don't want to say sport to sport because they're both combat, but I think you know where I'm going.
It is sport to sport.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because like, so boxing and MMA are completely different.
Is it mental or is it more physical, would you say?
So a competitor, like, start with the mental. Mental, I think a competitor is a competitor.
So that's always...
Whatever sport you play, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If you're an addict of that sport and you want to be the best, which most high-level athletes are, like, zoned in, that can translate. The physical, so, like, MMA is extremely physically demanding.
Mm-hmm.
Boxing is too, but I think MMA, out of everything I've done in my life, every sport, and I feel like I've played most of them, you know, like soccer, baseball, football, rugby, wrestling, all of them. Wrestling's comparable. Wrestling is still one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Physically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mentally, because like
every fighter says that.
Wrestling will break people. Even in MMA or anything, the one thing, that's why most jiu-jitsu gyms or a lot of like just straight jiu-jitsu gyms, they're like, let's start on the knees or I'll start on my back, you start on top. They skip the wrestling part. Wrestling to this day, and I'm not a good wrestler, is the most exhausting part of it. And it fucking sucks because there's no light wrestling. You can kind of like drill back and forth, but it's not light like other things.
Yeah.
I can spar boxing lighter than I can just drill wrestling.
The genesis of the question kind of came from the standpoint of maybe a little bit of a casual perspective where it's
I like how you worked in Genesis there.
You like that? Thanks for calling that out. But I'm because the damage taken in a 2-minute round fight in a BKFC championship bout versus a 5-minute round in a non-championship bout in MMA, I won't say it's more substantial, but it's more impactful given the time discrepancy, right? So I guess that's kind of where the question came from. Like, you see people leave with more busted orbitals, broken jaws, missing teeth, in a bare knuckle fight.
I feel attacked right now.
No. This is just. But I guess I was kind of curious from that standpoint, like, were the nerves higher going into your first bare knuckle bout versus your first pro MMA bout?
I barely remember my first pro MMA bout.
First UFC bout.
I would say similar.
Okay.
You know, and it's funny because like BKFC or bare knuckle is like pretty new, right? Or
sure.
Newer.
And so, new as a promotion, but been going on since before MMA, probably.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had guys ranked in the UFC even as of today. Like, I don't want to name them so that they don't feel bad, but
no problem.
Ask me like, what is that like? That's fucking crazy. And like the answer for me at least is like, I never went into an MMA fight thinking, thank God they had that 4-ounce glove on. To me, I was like, don't get hit.
Still getting
this
hit
shit's gonna
face,
fucking
though.
hurt.
Yeah.
You know, like flat out. And I would also say like adrenaline is a hell of a drug.
Everybody says that.
So there's like, I'll equate this to what people who haven't fought they haven't had this either, but you see it. You watch the Discovery Channel Shark Week, which I fucking love. Shout out to Shark Week. But everybody that's been like attacked by a shark were like, I felt pressure, but I didn't feel anything. And then blood was everywhere, yada, yada. Adrenaline takes over, right? So it like kind of like shuts off your nerves, which is what I think happens. I think most of the time when you fight, you're kind of in shock, because if you ask anybody, especially newer to the fight game, your first fight, it's kind of a funny thing. Most people's first fight, they don't hear their corner. They don't hear the crowd. They don't hear anything. I think you're in shock.
The whole time.
Would be my guess.
Okay. That's an interesting description of it.
Because they like don't have all the recollections even.
And it hasn't slowed down
like
for you
win
yet.
or lose. Like you're kind of like, oh, I don't even remember that happening. And everybody I've coached their first fight, I'm like, I try to do everything I can. And I also tell them, I'm like, listen, you're probably not going to hear me. You're not going to understand anything. Like my first fight, I remember seeing my coach's mouth and I was just like nodding. And I actually do think that you're kind of in shock. But even now, like in the UFC fights, like I think it looks worse than it is when you're in there.
It's hard to take that at face value because you've been punched more times than the average human will ever even throw one in their life.
Yeah. And
I don't say that to turn down what you're saying, but I'm trying to show you the flip side to it.
No, yeah, I get it. And like, I can say, I don't know that I've ever been punched or hit to where I was like, oh my God, that fucking hurt, where you're dwelling on it. Because
where you want to throw the flag in or whatever, the towel. So.
Yeah. The part of fighting too, because it's moving so fast, right? Like if you're thinking about the last punch that hit you, you're getting hit with like 3 more. Like everything moves so quick. So you're always moving. Your brain is always moving forward, like survive. So you don't really feel it. Now, afterwards, it's awful. I mean, there's UFC fights with kicking, everything, or MMA fights where as soon as the decision is read, you're like, oh my God, I can't fucking walk out of here all of a sudden. But you were just wrestling, scrambling, doing all this stuff. Because like once it gets to a decision or it's ended, like the adrenaline wears off and then everything hurts. I mean, I've won fights without getting hit, and then I was like, man, my elbow hurts, this, that. Like you start feeling everything, but during, like, you don't feel anything. And I think bare knuckles the same way. Like I was actually surprised. The first punch I took in my first BKFC fight was literally the same. And I told Dustin that too. I'm like, I mean, it feels the fucking same.
You're still
I'm trying not to get punched.
Yeah.
My entire goal is to not get hit, but when I do, it's like, but again, like, so like my hand's been killing me since October. I think I've finally decided on my own, because I'm an amateur doctor, that maybe it's fractured.
You're a Google doctor.
Like everything's in place. I can move it and everything, but it hasn't gotten better. It still hurts. It clicks a little. So I think like I might have a fracture in there, but during it didn't hurt at all. When I got to the locker room, that was when I was like, oh, my hands hurt, this. I think adrenaline is just a thing. And if you're trying to win, you block that out and you just get the job done.
I just didn't know that it lasted that long. I thought, because you hear the commentators, and some of them are fighters, right? And some of them are legendary fighters. Some of them are not. They say the adrenaline dump. So I guess from the aspect of a spectator, I thought that was something that would die off within the middle of a fight versus hold you over through 15 or 25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because you hear them talk about adrenaline dump. Sometimes I think
they always say that.
They say that relating to cardio, right?
Okay.
Which is another thing that could happen. Like you're close to finishing a guy. You're beating him up, the bell rings, or you think you won. So I think guys shut down. They're like, it's over. And then it's not over, and it's hard for them to restart. Mm-hmm. But I think that as far as adrenaline goes to like your pain compliance, I don't know. I literally feel like it's like the best explanation would be like you take a painkiller before, wears off right after. And I've told my family that because I've kickboxed, MMA, bare knuckle. I always say, I'm like, it looks worse than it is.
Do you feel like, I'm glad you brought it back to that, because the other side of that original question was, do you feel like this has had a negative impact on your family, wherein, like, look, like I mentioned, I've been unemployed, right? It's difficult for my family to see me go through hard times, and they've been dog shit bad. What about losing? What about losing multiple times? What about getting fucking hurt What about, you know, what happens to your face, your teeth, and shit like that? How do they take seeing their loved one go through that?
I don't think any of them enjoy that I do it.
Yeah.
You know, my girl's family, or my mom will like support me no matter what I'm gonna do. But like the first time I told her I was doing MMA, she was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, you wanted me to work in warehouses forever? Okay."
Dude, my mom, I told her I wanted to go into film and she started crying. I can't even imagine telling my mother I wanted to be a fucking fighter and how she would have reacted to that.
Did you tell her it wasn't porn though?
I didn't. So maybe that was why she was sad at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think family will support you. None of them enjoy it. I think if you asked every single fighter out there, would you prefer they did this or something else? They would say something else. But then, like, they still support you. It's your family. I can honestly say, like, my younger brother was in the UFC too, and I always cornered him. He started, when I first started training, I started taking him to the gym and, like, paying for his membership and stuff. I think he was, like, 12. They didn't have kids classes. He would just spar with the adults and fighters getting ready for fights. It was a small gym. No, not at the time. He would just take beatings.
Yeah.
And then he started like getting better and better and better. But when he would fight, even in the UFC, even like his very last fight, I would get like sick to my stomach before. Because you have no control, right? It's easier for me to fight than it is. I have less nerves fighting than I do cornering Dustin or like people I care about.
Have you been around Darren when Dustin's in a fight?
Not during.
Yeah. I brought it up on Dust's episode. You can't be around him. It's really hard for him. And they're twins, so there's that weird connection that you can't describe. It's a hard thing to see when someone you care about that much is going through, especially considering Darren has fought and knows what it's about.
Yeah. Like my fiance did one of the, or two of them, the influencer.
I had that on here.
Boxing league. Yeah.
And that was legit a question I had.
I was you. Like, I will tell you that I was.
There's so much to unpack with that, bro.
Dude, I was like, let's
your
get
lady
the fuck out of here.
She's very fit, right? So she's in shape.
Yeah.
So she can handle maybe that aspect of it.
Well, she'd always like hit mitts and stuff. She never sparred. So when she took the fight, she had never sparred. And just did it as a workout. And so when she first called me and told me she got this like fight offer, and it was good. I mean, I was like, fuck, I need to be on YouTube or something, because like there was a little part of me where I was like, I'm a little upset by this offer, because there's guys in the gym that are in the UFC that don't make this kind of money.
Yeah. They also don't have the reach that your lady has. So.
Yeah. And I was also like, but hard no.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I think I want to do it. And I was like, no. I said no for a bit.
I can't believe you ever said yes.
But then, like, she explained it to me. She's like, you know, I just need something new to challenge me, this and that. It's other influencers. And so, like,
it's a trend.
Yeah. And so we made a deal. And I said, listen, if you're going to do this, you're not going to disrespect something that I put my life into, which I see quite a bit of them do.
100%.
I was like, if you want to do it, you need to do like a real training camp. Train at a real gym. So like I wasn't her coach. She trained with my coach, and I was like, you're gonna go sparring, this and that. And I was like, treat it real. Don't disrespect it. And fucking
I respect that.
And I was like, because I'll take it as a disrespect, and all the guys that you know through me, everything
will feel the same way.
Like, go all in. And so she agreed, and she did. Fuck, she might have gone in more than me. Dieting, everything. She had everything to a T. And I was like, well, now I feel like a piece of shit, because I was fighting in the UFC cutting corners. But I wanted to throw up everywhere.
Well, that was the question I had, was like, because you cornered her in at least one or both.
Yeah. So like my first fight was at like a Holiday Inn ballroom with 200
Dustin's
people.
was in a fucking bar on a river.
Dude, I fought at strip clubs, bars, you know, fairgrounds outside, all these things. Her first one was at Wembley. And it was sold out. And it was sold out.
That's ridiculous. Oh, it was in London. I forgot about that.
Yeah, when we walked out, I was like, they spent like $3 million on the press conference for the fight. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, even now, like, I just got to, because I was terrified. I was like,
for her, you mean?
Yeah. And all of us. I was like, I think I should like drop kick her opponent and like, get the fuck out of here. Oh, dude, it was like, my stomach sinks, and like I've noticed, I knew that already going in because like my brother fighting, you know, my sister-in-law fights professionally. Like our family does it, but it doesn't get any easier.
Did it get easier throughout the fight?
No.
Oh, so after the first punch, you saw her didn't go down, like you were still like, that one hurt, that one hurt. Like you don't want any of it. You don't want to watch a single thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to attack her whole corner and everything. I was like, let's just brawl this out and we'll fucking leave.
Dude, Mark.
You know, you always want to come to like the defense.
Mark taught Kelly how to leg kick, and she's dropped me countless times with him. I feel like, and I haven't been in your position, so let me preface that, but I feel like watching her get into something like that, I'd be like, man, if she just drops this one, it's fucking over. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I mean, like you feel comfortable with the strengths and stuff, and then like the fight is like organized chaos, you know? Like as soon as, I'm sure if you saw her get punched in the face, like the first time my fiance sparred, which she'd already signed the fight and had never sparred.
Ooh.
And then
that's probably a first for some.
Yeah. And so like I stepped aside and was like, use my coach. So I gave her all the resources and everything. And he's like, yeah, come to sparring at this time. And it was the Gross Smart Gym. They were like pro boxers, pro MMA. There was no amateurs. And they didn't take it easy on her. It wasn't like, hey, this is her first time.
Did you want them to?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that.
I'll fucking fully admit it. I was in the corner being like, hey, why don't you fucking relax? Like, it's her first time, you dickhead. Like, I was getting mad.
Oh, yeah. Because there's some... I'm not going to harp on it because I've talked about it maybe on a couple of episodes, but like there's some fucking dudes out there that don't think women are savages, and I hate hearing it. Women are nasty fucking fighters, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, we have some really good ones at our gym, and yeah, one of those sparring partners was on like the last it was like Deontay Wilder card or something. And I'm like, "Oh, you brought Helen for her first day? What the fuck is wrong with you?" You know
what I commend though, and I haven't met Whitney yet, but I commend her willingness to stay in it.
Dude, I will give her, not just because she's my fiance or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I was ready to call it after the first sparring session. I was like, yeah, let's not do this. Fuck this.
Yeah.
Like, let's get out of here. And she wanted to keep doing it. And like, she kept coming back again. It's a thing. It's like literally you're bound to get better if you just keep showing up. But that's life, literally. No matter what your job is, sometimes you just keep showing up. You take the beatings, and like, I can say like to this day, that's one of the things I'm most proud of her, or most proud of her for, is because before the fight, I knew she was fighting another like influencer, and I literally told her, I was like, listen, you have been training with nothing but pros, like you. And she started to hold her own, and like, she started winning rounds and doing like
fights.
Doing better, and not even in the fights, but in the gym.
Okay.
Against girls that do this for a living. And I was like, you're competing with girls that do this for a living now, and now you're gonna fight another YouTuber. Like, this will feel way different. And yeah, I was super proud of her for that. Because after the first time, yeah, again, and like, she just got better and better and started learning. And like, again, I mean, I said already, but like sometimes it just keeps showing up. That's all I did. I wasn't like a natural talent. I'm not fucking fast. I'm not explosive. I'm not jacked. I don't have any of like the attributes that you should to be.
Is that something you can teach? Can you really teach work ethic?
No.
Okay.
Flat out.
I'd rather have your answer than mine.
Yeah, I mean, the gym community will tell you there's always that guy at the gym that is great and has all the tools, but can't do it when the lights are on.
Okay.
I would say, I would guess every sport has that. We call them like gym warriors, right?
Yeah.
Or the gym champion. There's guys that, going back to what I was saying earlier, like beat up world champions. Maybe they have another job. Maybe they can't put it together. Fight night, like the pressure gets to them.
I wish I had the background to be able to like really connect on that. I was never that competitive as an athlete. But I'm curious, was there ever a point in your career where you felt like there was those moments where it truly slowed down? Because you hear some of these elite fighters talk about these experiences when they're in the middle of a bout and they can hear somebody kind of contrary to what you said earlier when you saw your coach's mouth moving, but you couldn't really make it out, where you could hear somebody out in the crowd, or you could see the punch coming in slow motion. Did that ever happen for you?
Yeah. I think the spot on, like the more experience you get, I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I'd love to hear the like scientific explanation for this, but I can be in I don't care, it could be a football stadium, but I can hear like the voices I recognize, like my coaches and stuff.
Really?
And like Dustin, all those guys will tell you for some reason the sound is like muffled, but you can hear the voices that you recognize. And I think that comes with more experience. The more comfortable you get in there, you can tune everything out. And like, yeah, I don't remember where it was, but I remember getting in the cage. It was the UFC fight at one point. And, you know, you don't really hear the crowd or anything for the most part. But I remember, like, you know, doing the thing around the cage, like, once you get
warming
in.
up.
And I remember seeing my friend sitting next to, like, Snoop Dogg. And I was like, is that fucking Snoop Dogg? And, like,
This is what I'm talking about.
yeah, and I'm like,
You caught it.
stop thinking about that. Like, what the fuck you doing? You know, it's the more experience you get, I think the more, like, your perception opens.
Does it then change? And I think about this in my own profession, like outside of the podcast shit, but like at what point, or is there a point where you're non-reactive and proactive? Is that a thing that comes into play where you're consciously moving ahead I'm going to feint this way, I'm going to throw that to land this? Like, do you ever, that becomes a thing, or is that you're always reactive in a fight?
No, I think that does definitely become a thing. And that's like the difference between guys in the big leagues and stuff. Most of the guys in the UFC and everything their brain can function
Like
or
chess.
or like big boxing, everything. Sometimes you don't even throw things to land. I'm throwing something just to see how you react, because I'm like calculating that. And then you log that, because maybe I do it, like an example, I throw my right leg kick over and over and over again, like 4 or 5 times in the first round, but I still remember that, and I'm judging on how you block that, because I'm going to use it against you. It really is a chess match. Like, I think fighters are far smarter than people give them credit for, at least in that thing, because there's way more going on than the average person watching will ever know. When people are booing and they're against the cage,
Oh, they're fucking casuals, bro.
It's not just like nothing's happening. Like, you're jockeying for position. You're feeling them, because like if you're connected, like I can feel how you're pushing.
A lot of guys talk about weight balance and everything comes into play.
Yeah, it's way more cerebral than like people watching at Buffalo Wild Wings realize.
You know, I hear a lot of people say, are you a football fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not hardcore. I wouldn't tell you a player and this.
No, but you like the sport enough to watch it. A lot of people the consensus is that being a quarterback in the NFL is the hardest position in any sport of any athletic. And I feel like every fighter at the UFC level or even at BKFC level, they're all quarterbacks, because you're controlling so many well, maybe less so BKFC, but not to denigrate the sport, but because of MMA, there's so many disciplines that you're in control of in that moment, right? Yeah. Quarterbacks thinking about the routes, the linemen, the guard assignments, you know, where their check down is. And in MMA, you're thinking of the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And you're also trying to think ahead about in football, where the ball is going to be, in MMA, where the next strike is going to come from. I don't think a lot of people pay enough attention to that, as you mentioned, cerebral aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would agree with you. I think team sports would require a more cerebral approach, right? Because there's so many people. So like maybe the defensive end keeps biting in too hard, and like, but you're gonna let it happen, and then you hit it outside. Fighting is like individual, and I think it takes longer. Because like I want to get you used to something. Like maybe I'm just like flicking my jab out, and people watching are like, "Oh, there's nothing on it. It's just like a slap." Because I'm watching which hand he's blocking it with, and I'm waiting. And then when I see a tendency, then I'm going to try to take advantage of it. So it's individual, and it can take a bit. There's less errors one-on-one than there is, you know, team on team.
I hear that.
So I get what you're saying about that, and like
it's really a measurement of the amount of things to think about and comprehend in real time is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that's why like doing both, I would say MMA is like far more cerebral than like BKFC, your bare knuckle.
Yeah.
Bare knuckle is more of like a brawl.
You feel like it is?
Yeah, because you could go swing wild too. You only got to land one. MMA, like there's takedowns, there's jiu-jitsu, there's striking, there's knees, elbows. There's way more to think about. I know going into a BKFC fight, you can only hit me with those two hands. With MMA, like
I think you might have taken an elbow in the last one. If I'm being honest, I rewatched the fight today.
Maybe that's how my fucking.
I saw a fucking elbow, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
But there's elbows, knees, takedowns. The more there is to think about, the smarter you got to be. And that's why it always cracks me up when people think like fighters are dumb. Like,
no,
they might not be smart in whatever, like, accounting, this or that, like what you're thinking, but the amount of like information they have to take in on a split second and make a judgment, like fighter pilots.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never flown a jet, but I would assume that's probably more intense. But
yeah,
life and death, and there's a lot of buttons that I want to push. But
yeah, Kelly is off camera and she's giving good feedback occasionally, saying that her dad, he was a Army lifer, situational awareness.
Yeah, no, so exactly. So like military guys, like situational awareness, like your dad was a Green Beret, right? So you're doing a patrol or whatever through a city, you got to look at windows on the ground. What's that? Why is that bag there? Like there's so many things to like focus on, and like how do you react? And you have to be able to react like that. So it is like a training. And your previous question was like, does it ever become just like natural?
Slower. Yeah.
That's the whole point of training, is that when shit hits the fan, you don't always make the right decision, but you make a decision right away.
Yeah.
And then you stick with that decision, and then you adapt off that.
So the reaction time becomes less. And as you get even better, the reaction to the movement becomes more accurate or more precise, maybe.
Yeah. Like if we're at home and I'm messing around with my fiance or whatever, we're like playing around,
Sure.
joking, playing around. And she kind of like does this, like my hand, like automatically, it's from training over and over and over again. Like I'm going to block that, yeah. Drillers make killers, I bet your dad would say that. Like repetition.
I could repeat a couple of things that he says, and some of them are
in Arabic.
He speaks German, actually. So for me, it's about creating the connections, because it truly is, in my opinion, all about who you are as a human being. That's the story that never gets told. And I think that's really the reason why there is this just constant debate and discussion around, are MMA fans really fucking quality fans? I feel like MMA fans are the Philadelphia Eagles fans of the sport. They want to fucking boo, because all they want to see is the carnage. And I love the carnage, man. I do. But you guys are the most interesting human beings I've ever met. And I'm not doing this spending all of our money, spending all of our time driving 13 fucking hours on a Thursday morning because I think I can make money at it. I'm doing it because I would do this with you for free with no cameras on later. And I think we might if you stay out. Anyways, that's how much I care about this shit.
Well, it's the same thing. Fuck, maybe you do just run this. That's how I started. I didn't think I'd make money in it.
Yeah.
When I fought amateur for the first time, I was just doing it as a hobby. Mm-hmm. And then I turned pro. And I turned pro because they outlawed. The only reason I turned pro was because they outlawed amateur MMA in Colorado for.
I didn't know that.
It was like this long.
And I already. Oh, you mean like a stint of it?
Yeah, it was like under a year.
Okay.
And I already had a fight set up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a fight. The promoter called my coach and was like, hey, they just changed the rule. There's no more amateur MMA. You know how they got around the rule? They changed the name to Elimination Fighters. But he was like, Chris can fight the same guy he's going to fight, same card. Everything's the same, but he's got to go pro.
We're talking about athletic commissions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
But you got to go pro. They gave me $200. I got $200 flat. And I was like, my coach asked me, and I was like, wait, I get money for this? I was going to do it for free anyway. I'm fucking in. And that $200 I was pumped about. I mean, now I'm not, but the $200 and everything was the same. They just changed the fucking name.
Oh,
Dak, you're killing me, Small.
Dak, apologies.
You and your big nuts are...
Listener, Dak, the Jacoby dog, is knocking over shit. Is it still good?
Yeah, it's fine. It's probably his balls that hit the thing.
Yeah.
He's got the biggest balls ever.
They're so massive.
I'm jealous.
I know. We cut our dog's balls off. Your dog have his balls still?
Mine's a girl, so...
So no.
Well, I'm not allowed to say that. I mean, she could have balls if she wants.
She can have... Look at how appropriate you are. You're so current.
I live in Denver.
I mean...
Oh, are we going?
Oh, no, we've been going the whole time, brother.
Forgot where we left off.
I did too. I want to know, now from the outside looking in, right? Having spent time in the UFC, having spent time in PFL, even Glory for that matter, are there any things that you would have gone back and maybe changed?
Fuck, that's another good one. It's a hard thing to say because like fighting is a selfish sport, right? But if I could go back, I would have been more selfish.
Can you dig into that for me?
Yeah. So, training at certain gyms that were trying to build the gym at the same time as the heat of my career, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I was being more of a team player, like, let's build this team, let's do that.
Be part of something.
Yeah, like I'm a loyal person, right? So at the beginning of my UFC career,
the first stint?
Yeah, at the very beginning. The initial gym that I started at died out, it closed. And so I jumped to, rather than jumping to another notable gym or with guys, I jumped to one that was not started, right? And so my first UFC fight, I didn't have anybody my weight to train with, anything like that. But it was cool. Like, we built a culture and a team around like-minded people. But the building process was happening during the major beginning of my career. So I don't fully regret that because it turned into something great. But at the same time, that was heat of the moment for me, right? Where I should have been more selfish in at least cross training at another gym where I wasn't.
Guys jump around now.
They do now, yeah. And this is early days, right? So
yeah.
my first UFC fight, I was training with a guy that was 135 pounds.
And you were middleweight to start, if I recall.
Yeah, 185. So I was training with local pros. One was 135, and he was in his 40s.
Okay.
Doing it for fun. 155. They're all local guys, and they're still some of my best friends today. But at the same time, the structure of the gym was still being built, and I'm going into at the time was the biggest fight of my career.
Yeah.
But I was we'll make this happen, everything, and then I continued to do that for probably 4 more fights, and sometimes it would play into my head going into a fight. I'm this guy trains at Jackson Wink with I don't even know John Jones was around at the time, but Rashad Evans, all these famous guys.
You left to go to Wink.
And I don't even have anybody that is literally my weight or heavier. And it didn't play a ton, but it was always in the back of my mind. I'm man, am I ready for this? I don't know. You know, we were trying to just figure it out. It was kind of like the garage club building when I'm literally in the UFC.
So being selfish insofar as being what is the best move professionally for me versus what is the best move for the community I've embedded myself within.
Yeah. And I think I could have done both, right? I think I could have trained a bit with these guys, but gone and done my sparring at other gyms, you know? Yeah. But I was all in and let's build the team. And
I mean, you've won a belt and prize, and I know that was a local circuit, right? It was a flash in the pan moment for you, but it was viable, so that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, the dude I beat was Jeremy Kimball, who went on Kimball.
Yeah,
this is my lisp.
It's all good. I knew you weren't talking about Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, it was Kimbo. No, he went on to the UFC and got some bonuses and everything, and I wiped the floor with him.
Yeah, and then you arrived, obviously now at Cruiserweight champ. Sans the October fight, which we can talk about, but I don't even know if you want to divulge into it again. But what I'm saying is, do you think having made a couple of these more selfish, and I think from a positive light, selfish decisions in your career? Do you think other things could have happened as far as success, obviously?
I mean, hindsight is always
2020.
Yeah, it's always easier to like look back and be like, well, if I would have done that, like it probably would have changed this. Like, who knows? It was, yeah, it was just it was a pivotal time. Like, cause basically when I got signed by the UFC, I was in my original gym that I started at Gum MMA, right? Like straight off the street, just found this gym, and Brad Gum trained me all the way to this point, and then I don't really know what happened. He kind of shut down the gym, stopped coming, burned out, did it for a long time.
It's hard to be a coach.
And I haven't actually heard from him since. Like, I hope he's doing well, which I always mention him in podcasts because I think that he's due the credit.
I appreciate that.
And he was like one of my best friends, and it was literally like dropped off, So sometimes I always hope he's listening to these.
Yeah.
And I've actually had like dreams that he's like come back and been like, let's get back to it, because he was like a great person. We had no ill will and nothing like that. I think that he had like a really long career before anybody knew about MMA. And so I think that he had some issues, and he was fighting when there was no weight classes, and he was probably 155 pounds. So I hope he didn't end up with like head trauma or anything. But that's where like Brandon Royval came. That's where there was a lot of like good guys that came out of like this 1,500 square feet gym. It was tiny. It was like gladiator school. We didn't have weight classes or whatever. If it was your turn to be in, you went in with whoever was there.
That's hardcore.
And it like built tough motherfuckers. Like Chase Hackett went on to, I think he went on The Ultimate Fighter, then retired. There was like Nick Macias. My brother went on, like that's where my brother started. There was a lot of like tough ass dudes. Like Cerrone used to come train with us. Michelle Watterson, and it was a tiny little spot in a shopping center.
No shit.
Yeah. And then that just kind of like cut off and ended. So part of me wishes like right there was right after I came back from The Ultimate Fighter, going on to the finale, which they called me for, where I could have helped build this gym here, but also been getting what I need by like cross training, and I didn't.
When you look back at everything, do you think that you would be this version of yourself today if you'd gone back and made those more selfish decisions? Do you think you'd be the man? Because I know that success can change who you are as the fighter, but having gone through what you went through, do you still turn out to be the same Chris Camozzi that's sitting across from me right now?
Damn.
I went a little
that's another great question. I mean, that's the thing, is like you could look back on life and be like, I should have done this, this, and this. But if you did this, this, and this, would you end up like right now? My life is great. Like I'm happy as fuck. I do well. Everything I did along the way, I think put me to where I am and gave me the experiences I needed. But when I think about my career, I tell you, I would go back and be more selfish and everything. So I don't know where that would have ended me. Maybe I would have gone to, we call them like mega gyms, those
AKK.
AKA American Top Team or whatever. Maybe I would have blown out my ACL and never had a career.
Yeah.
Training with super high level guys. I don't know. I think about it a bunch because like I thought about the previous question of like, what would you change? And then there's a lot of times I'm like, man, I wouldn't change anything because it put me to here.
That's where I was going. And like I said earlier, I don't like making anything on these conversations about me, but in those moments that I referenced about, and I've been unemployed for long periods of time, to the point where Kelly and I are building a pretty expensive home, and I lost a gig for a long time, and we had no idea how we were going to make this work. And I think when I talk to people like you who have gone through similar moments of a career where maybe you're questioning, or maybe you're like, how much longer can I do this? And I hearken back to like, if I hadn't gone through that shit, to make a fighting metaphor, if I hadn't experienced an L or 3 L's in a row, do I become the same version of myself? And that's kind of where I was drawing that question from, is like, you learn more about yourself in a loss than you do a victory.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can think back on a bunch of them, and it might be boring as shit, but like when I got on the Ultimate Fighter, so before that I was working at strip clubs and stuff, doing security since I was 18. And I got a job working clubs at night so that I could train during the day. Right. So
makes sense.
Even then, like I kind of the work ethic, once I discovered the MMA gym, before that I was like stocking warehouses and stuff, got hooked on training. Then I was like, what can I do to where I can like train during the day and like do everything I want? So then I got a job working nights. So then I used to wake up at 7 a.m., go to practice, and I would train for, I don't know, probably like 7 to 10. Go home, sleep for a bit. I would go to work at, I think, 6. I had to be there 6 to 3.
Yeah.
You know, it closed at 2. I'd probably get home at 3, and then I'd get back up at 7. So that's all I did. Like I didn't go party at that point, do anything, and it just became a cycle. But I like formed my life to do what I wanted, and then I got on the Ultimate Fighter. Then I had one of those what's it called, like half-baked moments. I went in the club and I was like, fuck you guys, I quit. I'm going on a reality show, I'll be a superstar. No,
yeah,
I didn't really do that, but I was like, I quit, like I'm not gonna be back, yada yada yada, because I was over it anyway. Like I had done it for so long, and like it was just like one trashy business, the people you're around, everything, like it just wore on me, and I was done. And I was like, this is my shot. Went on the Ultimate Fighter, broke my jaw. I was back like a week and a half later, but I didn't go back to work because I literally walked in and was like, I quit, I'm out. So my dreams were crushed, and I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And of course, like in the gyms you meet, like there's a lot of people in the gyms that there's so many resources, right?
You can facilitate other facets of a career, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a guy, I'll give him a shout out. I still talk to him now. His name is Brian Camozzi. He owned a tech company. He was a former NFL player back in the 80s. He played for the Browns. He owned a tech company. And he's like, you can come work for me. He's like, you seem smart, blah, blah, blah. To this day, and I still tell him this, like I meet up with him. We meet for like happy hour or whatever. I was like, that job was like, I learned more from that than anything in my life, because he hired me on his tech company. The first day I showed up, I had my own office, computer, everything. And he walked in my office and he handed me like a call list. And he was like, start calling and selling. And I was still kind of like, oh yeah. Hi. And he's like, no, I'm serious. And he sat down across my desk and he was like, start calling. And I was like, Brian, I don't know anything about tech or whatever. I don't even know what we do here. Swear to God, I didn't know the name of the business. At first, I thought he was giving me a job that he was just like going to give me a check, write it off.
Yeah.
And he was like, it doesn't fucking matter. He's like, you can sell anything. Doesn't matter what you're selling. Make the people like you. And it was the most awkward shit ever, because he sat across the desk while I dialed these numbers.
Watching you do it?
Oh, yeah. And if I would stutter or anything, he'd hit the hang up button.
Wow.
It was like Boiler Room.
I was going to ask earlier if you've seen that movie.
Yeah. I to this day, I learned more from that than anything. And he was like, call the next one. They could have been fake numbers at this point, maybe, but I don't think they were.
He was Ben Afflecking your ass, right?
Yeah,
there.
and he's like, call the next one. And I would keep arguing with him. I'm like, I literally don't even know what the fuck we do here. I don't know. I didn't look at the name on the door. Like, what are we doing? And he's like, just sell. Every day he'd make me call. And when people would answer, I'd be like, hey, yeah, I was just, I don't know, just calling. You know, I had nothing. and he'd be like, just make some shit up. I don't know. Tell him you found a puppy. Tell him whatever. Make him laugh. Like, get him to like you. At one point, he had his investors come in, and he made me in the conference room up on the board, and he's like, run the meeting. This was like 2 weeks in, and I was like, Brian, I still don't know what the fuck we do here. Like, no joke. And I grew to learn it. Like, we were selling PAC systems, which are what doctors and stuff use that attach to MRI machines that store them in warehouses. And you have to have two, like, I'll give you the whole breakdown now. Like, if a tornado hits one in Oklahoma, like, doctors have to have records, you know, for legal and everything. But yeah, for the longest time, I'm like, are you going to tell me anything? And it was like just the hard knock thing. And he was like, finally, he was like, listen, sales is sales. People buy shit from people they like. It's not about what you're selling. Maybe they don't need it, but make them fucking like you. He's like, they might come back on your life later. And he like taught me about connections with people. And he was like, they might not buy, but that person might own this or that or whatever that like feeds into your life. And that's when I started learning about like sponsorships and other shit of like networking, which I fucking hate that term, but it's true. Is like who you know. Like sometimes you don't make $1, but you connect two people, but then you become the guy, or like they both appreciate you.
You're
they
the
get a deal
conduit.
done. Like yeah. And I would say that's like a real like pivotal moment in my career because that helped me lead into sponsorships and shit. I started getting tech sponsors and stuff. Like my first UFC fight, then I met like oil people. I started getting like really big companies that were sponsoring me just by like, I don't know shit about any of that, but they liked me. And that was like the point where I learned like business is business, but like people do business with people they like, not they hate, unless you have like a commodity. You know?
This might be the hardest question to answer I've asked you all night, and I appreciate you digging all through it with me, bro. But do you attribute the success to fighting that allowed you to flourish in the variety of ways that we've talked about tonight? Or is it back to the work ethic? And I ask that because do you think you would have committed that work ethic to whatever was in front of you? Warehouse, tech cell, fucking strip club bouncing. I guess my question really is like, is it because of fighting or is it because of what's inside of you?
Hit me with the fucking heaters.
I saved him for the end.
No, I think both, right? If you look at my fight career, like bare knuckle, I was world champion. Outside of that, I've had a long career, but I can honestly say like my career was like fairly average, you know, unfortunately. But I think that being personable, there's a lot of dumb motherfuckers in fighting. Let's be dead honest. But there's also a lot of like really smart guys, and like I'm not talking degrees or anything, but like just be
aware,
be a sponge in everything in life, and you know, and not there. I've met so many guys because I've been on the other side for like sponsorships and stuff. I was a brand manager for a company. We did sponsorships, and some guys just like, yeah, send me the check and
I'll do whatever.
But like, if you could be a good person or make like put in some effort, make the owner like you, or figure out who needs to like you, you can keep that a long time and keep making money. Like that makes money. I won't say who he's an active fighter, but at one point, a company I worked for wanted to sponsor him. They wanted me to go meet him, and he's highly ranked. And he was high as shit when he opened the door, went to his house, and he's like, I don't really want to do anything, but you know, like, if you guys want to make stuff, I'll post on my page. And he was playing video games while we were fucking talking to him. Yeah, and we were offering like a monthly salary. I'm like, this was only a couple of years ago, and I knew the guy, and I'm like, you couldn't have like, I don't know, not had your bong on the table and stopped your video game to like talk to the people that are offering you like, it wasn't a small salary.
It was big.
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like now, it was good. And he was just like, it's not really my thing. I don't really like it. And I mean, that's fine, but don't take the fucking meeting. First off, just say you're not interested. I was with the owner of this company. And when we walked out, he was like, are all fighters like that? I don't know, man. There's guys like, you know, you've been in advertising and stuff, like what they look for. You don't have to be like an actor or whatever. You can do certain things for a company that help promote them, but you got to put some effort in too. Some won't.
My whole correlation to that was about how fighting could have positively impacted you as a businessman moving outside of the fighting career. It sounds like it has. Yeah, brother, I appreciate the conversation. We touched on like 38 different things, and some of it was fighting related, some of it wasn't, but that's what I'm most interested in. I really appreciate the time, bro.
No, thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, this is
we
a
can
good
talk
time.
all day. We're gonna do part 2.
We are. We're gonna do a little part 2. Tune in to the aftermath episode. I think one Dustin Jacoby's maybe gonna come and have a couple conversations with us too.
Yeah, it'll be on his OnlyFans.
Always. It would be on your OnlyFans, yeah? Is that still active?
It could be if we put this on it.
Okay. Perfect.